Hey everyone, welcome to the Graced Health Podcast. If you listened in a few weeks ago, you know that we are in the middle of what I'm calling a sunset series. Our last Graced Health episode will be airing in a few weeks. And so I have invited some of the podcasters who I know, love, trust, respect to you. And I just want you to get to know them because I know you all show up here for your own purposes and reasons. And for those of you who like to show up because you want deep dives, because you want just enhanced learning on things, you are definitely going to want to follow this next guest and her podcast. I am speaking with Kate Lyman today. So let me tell you just a little bit about Kate. Kate has her master's in public health and is a certified health education specialist. She's a nutrition coach and owner of Kate Lyman Nutrition. Kate and her team help individuals of all backgrounds let go of restrictive diet rules and build a sustainable approach to nutrition. They have a client-centered, behavior changed, focused approach, and they really specialize or have lots of certifications in pregnancy, postpartum, menopause, which I know you guys are interested in. And she's especially passionate about behavioral health and helping people break free from that all or nothing mindset around food, which if you are part of this community, chances are that is you as well. She's also the host of the How to Fitness podcast alongside Michael Ujoa. You all met Michael in February of 2025 when we talked about the wellness industry has lost its mind and here's how not to lose yours. So that was a hugely, enormously popular episode. So Kate and Michael are partners in the How to Fitness podcast. They bring evidence-based lens to the wellness world and they do deep dives into common health claims and trending topics. I am a loyal listener to their show. They bring so much and I'm really happy that Kate has joined us today since you've already met Michael. Kate's originally from the US. She now lives in Oaxaca, Mexico with her partner and their 3-year-old son, Milo. And she likes to mountain bike, play spike ball, and eat tacos. So Kate, I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you for having me. I'm sorry, I sent some kind of a long bio, but
well,
now everyone knows everything about me. Love that.
It always feels long when someone else is reading it and you're just sitting there.
And you're like, smile and wave, smile and wave. Yeah, no, thank you so much, Amy. I'm really excited to be here. Also, I have to say I need to go back and listen to that episode with Michael because it's the perfect topic and title for him. That's his jam.
Well, it is. And I really remember how I think I just discovered Michael on Instagram and he's so brilliant about like calling out the nonsense of the wellness world. And so that's how I found it. Then I think I was watching a real, this was back when I was actually on Instagram, small business owner really shouldn't get off of Instagram, but here I am.
You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. And then he was like, well, on their latest, we just started up another season. I was like, there's more of this. So anyway, really, really great How to Fitness podcast. So I want to know, and if you could speak to this, Kate, tell me about the people who listen to your show. What are they looking for? What do they need to hear? What kind of need do you feel like you all are meeting?
We are constantly surprised by the listenership of our show. It is so broad. So whenever we look at our show stats, we have a very, very global listenership. And what I think people are coming to the show for is just some evidence-based perspective on all of the overwhelming amount of information we are bombarded with on a daily basis. So I am not you're completely off Instagram, which is, I'm jealous of that. I'm kind of online. I know Michael is very online, and it doesn't matter how online you are, you see how much information is thrown at us specifically around health, nutrition, wellness, fitness on a daily basis, and how conflicting it can be and how much conflation there is between the marketing versus our actual needs, et cetera, et cetera. So when we do our episodes, we're kind of speaking to that and saying, okay, what are we hearing a lot about right now? Let's dig in and see what is an evidence-based perspective around this specific topic.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing that I respect about it is evidence-based. You do a lot of research. I'm just curious, actually, if you can give us a little sneak peek into your process with that, because you do a lot of research. I know.
So much. Yeah. Yeah. So the way we do our episodes are kind of like scripted deep dives, and how we do it is we pick a topic, and Michael and I usually kind of confer over like, hey, what are we hearing more about? How could we build out this topic to be something helpful to our listeners? And then we take turns. So we're usually doing like one a month each because it is a ton of work. So I'll give an example of we just released our most recent episode on electrolytes, and I took on that one. So what I started doing was like first kind of priming my social media to tell me more about what people are looking for in electrolytes. You decide, you start wanting, like you start to look for something, and then the algorithm gets you and it's like, here, I'm going to tell you everything. So I started like searching a few things for electrolytes, and I was like, okay, let the algorithm do its thing. I kind of got the influx of info about someone who would be looking for more info on electrolytes. And I started to like kind of take notes on that. And then the process, I usually spend a few weeks listening to some podcasts about what people are saying about electrolytes, but from all sides, from some folks who are doing like a very deep evidence-based dive. Sigma Nutrition is a really big resource that we utilize, from maybe more influencer type podcasts or reels or whatever it may be. And then after like kind of getting the gist of what's going on in the wellness world around this topic, I start to like flesh out the questions of what I want to know. Who actually needs electrolytes? What are the main components we should look for in electrolyte? Why are we hearing so much about this type of electrolyte, but not about this type? Who are the companies behind the marketing that we're seeing? What does that mean? What's their margin? Why are we getting specific podcast influenced marketing instead of seeing more, like Instagram ad marketing, all this stuff? And then, after having those questions, I get into the literature and see what can I find about answering those questions and from an evidence-based perspective. And I know something that Michael and I usually both do is try to look at a non-evidence-based perspective as well. What is kind of more like the marketing side of what we're seeing, so we can put the evidence-based perspective and the marketing realities together and paint a good picture of why are we hearing so much about this topic and what do we actually need to know if you're someone who is, coming onto the internet with a question, do I need an electrolyte supplement, or whatever the topic may be.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very thorough. And I feel like this is a good time to also let people know that you all don't have ads. So we're not hearing your deep dives, and then also an ad for AG1 or something else like you. And I have taken the same approach on my episode or on my stuff. I'm like, I want this to be as neutral as possible, and so I really appreciate that about you all because podcasting is not free. And just because you have a lot of people listening to your podcast doesn't mean you are making any money unless you are monetizing it in some way. And you all do this really out of your passion.
Yeah, it's definitely a passion project. And sometimes Michael and I are like, why are we doing this? This is so much work. But it's fun. It's so fun. I come into each episode usually having written like 15 to 20 pages of notes and a script. And like my challenge is always to take this wealth of information I've collected and like pare it down into an hour, and it's all fun. It's like a fun challenge. I think you've been in the wellness space for a long time too. I have as well. And so like finding new ways to manifest this passion we have is fun.
It's so true. Yes. Yeah. I love that. Okay. So Kate, I know I told you this, and you know this from offline, and my community knows this, but most of the women in my community are, number one, women, perimenopause to menopause, 40s, 50s, 60s. I've got some in their 70s. And so I really want them to get to know you all and what you offer. And I was wondering if you might be able to share some needs that they are having, because I know you're certified as a menopause specialist, needs that they're having that you are meeting on How to Fitness.
Our podcast isn't geared specifically toward this population, but also kind of. It's geared towards those who are getting the most amounts of misinformation. And I'm a very firm believer that no one is getting more misinformation than those in the in the menopause transition. And that's because it is a unfortunately, a time of life where we don't have enough research because, we could get into the whole lack of women's health research. There's a lot of monetization to be done. And there's so much individuality in people's lived experience through that menopause transition that it opens the doors to so many different, try this, you need intermittent fast, you need to, blah, 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 whatever it may be. We have an episode called Misinformation in the Menopause Space or something along those lines. I never remember the title, where that I did a deep dive into this very topic. And because a lot of my clientele is in the menopause transition, because that's kind of who I like to work with most, I typically try to bring a small bit, even if it's just a few minutes of the deep dive topic we're talking about, and bring it back to what women in the menopause transition are experiencing specifically. I know we've done that in an episode on supplements. We've done it in an episode on intermittent fasting. I did it a little bit in the electrolyte supplement, just because this is a period of life where the bombardment of cures and fixes and supplements and you name it is just kind of next level.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. And, as you were talking, I was thinking two things. Number one, isn't it ironic how for decades, centuries, the menopause transition was not talked about? It was something under the rug. It was like, oh, I'm just warm, or whatever it was. Like nobody talked about it. There was a lot of it. It was stigmatized. There was a lot of shame around it. And the pendulum has swung 100% the other way, which is a good thing, in general, because we are talking about it. We have the freedom to be able to be like, I'm hot, or I've forgotten my words, or, whatever the challenge of the day is. And I think that we are starting to see some funds go into women's health research. I know Dr. Stacy Sims has done a lot with that, but that's wonderful. And the other thing too, that I kind of just put this together while you were talking. I was listening to you, but then my wheels get spinning.
I get it.
I think one thing that might be happening right now, and this is kind of a broader topic, but we have people who are highly educated in particular parts of the menopause transition. And so they are able to speak to that and give wonderful education. And then the scope of the climate that we are in right now, then they start, well, here's a supplement, and here's this, and here's my facial products, and this is my supplement stack. And all of a sudden it goes from someone who really knows what they're talking about in the space that they're in, or in the space that worked for them. And now it's like, well, this worked for me, this will work for all of you. Or and I'm trying to be very broad here, but this is my role and this is where my education is. And now here's all of the other things that you need to be doing.
Yes, very much so. And I think there's a multitude of reasons. It's the climate we're in around information dissemination. Like, if, that anyone trying to navigate Instagram world right now knows that hot takes, controversial opinions, and like quick clicky things get the attention, right? And so if this is your job and you need to monetize the information you do know and the knowledge you do have, you have to do it in a way that is kind of antithetical to what we know about information and like science-backed information in general. And so I understand it. And I think, when everything's a hot take, nothing's a hot take, and everything feels really confusing. And so part of what we're doing is like, let's take all these hot takes and kind of break them down and see which parts are true for everyone, which parts are true for certain individuals, just depending on individual needs, and which parts are kind of like a conflation of the truth.
You just used a word that I really like about the mindset of your show, which is depends. It depends. One thing that I have learned as I have gone through and done my own education is the more someone knows about a topic, the more likely they are to say, well, it depends.
Yeah, exactly.
It depends. It depends. Yes. And there's less rigidity to whatever it is that they're saying, because there's always depending factors, which is not what we want. I don't know about your clients, but people I work with are basically say, and I understand this, just tell me what to do, because they are confused, because they are hearing a lot. And so hearing, we don't want to hear it depends. We want to hear what to do. But at the same time, that's the responsible way of communicating and educating. Yeah.
I like to frame this as like experimentation. Everything's experimentation and practice with our clients, because there is so much it depends. So is this true for you or not? I don't know. Let's see. Like, let's give it a go, like this could be true for you, like, or something that is, without a doubt true in the literature that we see is helpful for women I don't know, I don't bring up the top of my head, someone with PCOS and front loading your day with protein, let's say that. Is that applicable to you? I don't know. Let's give it a try. Like maybe that doesn't feel good. Okay, we move on. We do something else. But it always depends. And we don't know until we try, which is hard. I get that. That's frustrating. It's a frustrating
Yeah, because
answer.
it takes time too.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Yeah. It takes time and patience. Yeah. I totally agree that. I'm curious, you guys have handled or covered a lot of different topics on your show. Has there been any topic that you were like, whoa, we were not expecting that kind of response, or something that you were excited about that flopped, or something that you weren't excited about that just took off?
All of that, definitely. I think, to give you quick answers, I think we had 2 episodes that stand out to me as we both learned way more than we went in thinking we would learn. Michael did an episode on food intolerance testing, and I think we learned just how bogus food intolerance tests can be, and we were both shocked. We thought that there would be more validity there, but that was a very shocking episode. When I did an episode on supplements, I think it was like sketchy side of the supplement industry. It was one of my favorite episodes I ever did, and I was going in like, let's just talk about, third-party testing and why that's needed and stuff. I learned so much about just how sketchy the supplement industry can be and why, and kind of the roots of the lack of regulation in the supplement space. And that really shocked me. It's definitely been like the episode that's informed my coaching most, I think. And then we did also, we've done guests at times, and our guesting episodes just never do that well. So we've kind of sunset bringing guests on, which is fine. We've enjoyed it. And then we've also been like, we can stick with our deep dive. So that's been a learning process for sure.
Yes, that was a great supplement episode for sure. Okay, so knowing what you know about my community, if they're like, okay, I want to go check these guys out, where would you point them? Do you have any particular episodes or seasons, or just give them a little bit of guidance?
I would say if you are a woman in the menopause transition, start with that episode on menopause. It's in season 4. I will have you link it in the show notes, Amy, because I don't know the number off the top of my head, but I think that would be a good one to start with. And some of what is in that episode would bring you back to that supplement episode as well. We kind of reference it. Another topic that is of interest to many, I know this is true especially for those in the menopause transition, is GLP-1 medications. And we do have a few episodes. That's been a topic I've very much enjoyed learning more about, both in the podcast space and with my clients and teaching my team as well. And so we do have a few GLP-1 episodes, one from beginning of season 3 and one from just a few weeks ago in 2026 that I would recommend looking at if that is a topic of interest to you. I know it's not for everybody, but I've tried to stay on top of the research and give a pretty unbiased approach to this topic that can be so stigmatized, especially right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well done on that episode, by the way, on the most recent one.
You.
I listened to it through the lens of, number one, as a trainer, who works with people who, are on it, because I want to make sure that I'm training well, but also through my community. I have a lot of women who are coming in, getting out of diet culture, who have finally made peace with their bodies. And I do think that was a very well done episode that deserves a listen if you're wanting to learn more about it. I am highly protective of my community. And when it comes to, weight, body size, etc., because I do believe that we were all created with these bodies that were, meant to be a certain size. And I thought you just did a great job on that episode. So
thank you. That means a lot to hear. It is a really tough topic to navigate. And something I say in every GLP-1 episode I think we've done is like, I can argue either way. I can talk myself in circles around this topic because there's so much nuance. So the best we can do is get into that nuance and provide a space to talk about it a little bit more.
Yeah, it depends.
It depends. It depends.
Yeah. All right. Well, Kate, I also want to publicly thank you for your grace. We were supposed to record this last week, and I just completely dropped the ball. I just didn't check my calendar. I didn't show up, fine. And you were like, all right, we'll just jump on another time. So thank you so much for coming back.
Of course. Absolutely. It's in the name of the podcast, right?
Yeah.
Grace.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, hey, I thank you for your time. Let's do this. I typically like to ask my guests for one simple thing that they would like they would like the listener to remember about this conversation. So big or small, just what's one simple thing?
It depends. I'm going to leave it with that. It depends. Our needs are so individualized, and we deserve to recognize that for ourselves and not to beat ourselves up for believing that there are one size fits all equations for any of us.
So good. Yes. Okay. That is all for today. Go out there and have a graced day.